2023 fades away, and thus begins another shot at making the best of things. That's really all we can hope for anymore, right? What a year it's been. A lot more of the same and a decent amount of the new. But coming out the other side stronger for it, right? Or at least only more tired? Amidst a year of historic labor movements, devastating layoffs in equal measure, and AI-enthused hucksters trying their darndest to make existence that much colder, came a frankly overwhelming amount of art that should be celebrated, and industry captains who should be shamed into oblivion. What a year it's been. And yeah, I didn't get nearly as many videos done this year as I had hoped to. Sorry about that. Perhaps I bit off more than I could chew, but it's also just been a year. But I've got stuff in the works right now, I promise. And if nothing else, I can for sure say that I got more writing done in 2023 than maybe any other year I've been doing this. 42,984 words, in fact, by way of a rough count. Yeah, whoo boy, where'd all those come from? Dodging the curveballs the year no doubt has in store for me, or all of us, I'm looking very much forward to trying to do what I do in 2024. Do my best to have a good time. I'm very excited for the ideas I have for the channel in the coming year, and arguably even more excited for all the ideas that haven't occurred to me yet, even if I can't realistically even hope to be able to get to nearly all of them. But like is the style of the time, of year, at the moment it feels prudent to take a quick look back at the things that kept me going, that got me through the slog that turned out to be 2023. 10 of my favorite media things from the last year, and a brief write-up of my thoughts on each of them. And just like last year, there's also an expansion pack video accompanying this one hosted over on my Patreon, free for anyone who wants to stop by and check it out. Consider pledging and joining my lovely patrons if you're at all interested in more bonus content, commentaries, and semi-regular, more detailed updates on things. But again, the expansion pack video, that's free for whoever's around. It'll be focused on my specific top 5s of all of these categories. We're talking games, we're talking albums, we're talking movies, we're talking sub sandwiches. I ate a surprising amount of sandwiches this year, and they were all good, but which ones make the top 5? But anyways, how much of an amazement it is that 2023 was the year that 2 of my favorite games, ones I would go so far as to call formative for me, got full-on remakes. Exciting prospects all around. Yeah, risky, I know, opening a top 10 list with a tie, but the fact that Mario RPG and Resident Evil 4, 2 games that could go toe-to-toe with each other for the title of basically favorite game ever, got revitalized in the same year, and that both of them turned out really good, what are the odds? With a sea change like this, it's always a bit concerning wading into the new experience. I am quick to point out that both of these games got features or overhauled in certain ways that kind of irritate or disappoint a little bit, differences in how they play, decisions on what is kept, all the usual suspects, but I'm also fully aware that the originals have their flaws as well, and maybe could use some new grease on the bearings. I can't say that either of these remakes are a flawless execution, but they are both honest efforts through and through, and in the end, that's what counts. The graphical upgrade both games got were just that, maintaining everything about how they excelled with their visuals in their original environments and bringing them forward into the modern era. The expansions and revisions to the bone structure of these titles, what holds them together, were at the very least interesting, and at times provided new ways of seeing old situations. But beyond all that, just in the way that 2 absolute titans of my history in gaming were made alive again, given new audiences to be enjoyed by, gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart and brain that gets me excited about games. I could talk for so much longer about both of these titles if I'm not careful, so I'll just leave it here for now and be excited that these games are out in the world again. At least something went right this year. It doesn't come up here super often on the channel, but I am a lover of stand-up comedy. It's one of my favorite performing art forms, and I have been exposed to more comedians new to me this year than any other in all of my time being aware of stuff. And finding Nathan McIntosh's Money Never Wakes was definitely a highlight of the year for me. Nathan's unrelenting cynicism and abrasive delivery is admittedly not for everyone, but his undeniable energy absolutely sells how passionate he is about the topics he tackles. Riffing on being broke and having no money is not new ground to break, but Nathan is always quick to make it both a funny anecdote and to recognize it as a systemic problem that goes unaddressed, somehow making it hilarious on both levels.
There should have been a class in high school called credit score. And if you ask how you're doing, you lose marks.
The guy uses wealth disparity in society and the nature of money like a speed bag, perfectly pointing out the absurdity of it all and how weird it is that we're all just kind of okay with it.
Just about everything Elon Musk says is not for us at all, okay? Elon Musk says that we're going to Mars. And he says that like, we're.
Obviously, stand-up comedy can be a polarizing experience overall. Not every flavor and style of comedy is going to appeal to any one person, and I'm not going to stand here and say that everybody watching this will definitively find this performance hilarious, but I'm always appreciative of comics who can take the depressingly bizarre and make it funny, even if tragically so. I spent a lot of time laughing through the challenges of 2023, and I'm really glad that Nathan McIntosh was right there showing me how.
McIntosh, I can't appreciate you enough for coming out. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming out.
2022 and 23 were the years that I got into the genre of doom metal. There's something strangely satisfying and compelling to me about music so set in its bleakness that it becomes like a black hole, pulling the light out of your world as it continues. Bands like Swallow the Sun, Draconian, and Ahab have been huge parts of my soundtrack lately, but none of them hit quite like Bell Witch. With the release of their 2023 album, Future's Shadow Part 1, The Clandestine Gate, yes I know, that's a lot of words, they further solidified themselves as one of my favorite sounds in the genre. A single song spanning an 83-minute runtime, it is kind of an absurd proposal, but it is an experience that only Bell Witch can deliver. A perfect blending of ambience and crushing weight, an allure not unlike morbid fascination. I do think that this album is elevated greatly for me by the fact that I got to see the band perform most of it live this year. Even removed from the studio, it doesn't lose any of its effect. Two musicians fully reinventing their instruments so they can create the kind of soundscapes that draw you fully into this terrifying other world they have designed for us. A vast ocean of fear and resigned melancholy. I know this experience definitely won't be for everyone, not really a universal cup of tea, but it is remarkable nonetheless. True smothering darkness, exploring the deepest depths of what consciousness can allow. If this sounds at least intriguing, even in a foreboding kind of way, then the Clandestine Gate is waiting, and Bell Witch will be happy to guide you through. Of all of the TV I consumed this year, there's no question that wrestling was definitely most of it. I'm now over a year into my wrestling obsession, and it's still going strong. I'm watching up to 7 hours a week of the stuff, more if there's a pay-per-view to toss into the mix, and it's gone from striking new interest to faithful standby with blinding efficiency. I don't specifically look forward to it anymore because it's just part of the decor at this point. Something I'm not going out of my way to get in front of my eyes because I know I will end up there without fail. Some of it even feels a bit old hat at this point. But ultimately, I'm still kind of just in awe of how much there is to take in. What pieces of it hit different people in different ways. It's been amazing to watch Ring of Honor rise from the ashes over the course of 2023. AEW's Continental Classic Tournament was a stroke of genius that gave us new ways to see characters we know and love facing down brand new challenges. Eddie Kingston earning the Continental Crown, the rise of timeless Toni Storm, Orange Cassidy as International Champion, Forever Women's Champion Athena. These are just a drop in the bucket of the storylines that grabbed hold of my imagination over the year. Ultimately, I wish I could take in even more, but like I said earlier, 7 hours a week, and I don't know how I would find any more to spare. Speaking of time, I should wrap this up, otherwise we'll be here for a while. So my favorite pay-per-views of the year were Ring of Honor Final Battle and AEW All Out. My top 5 matches of the year were Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley in the Steel Cage, FTR versus Jay White and Juice Robinson, best 2 out of 3 falls, Athena versus Willow Nightingale at Death Before Dishonor, Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream, and Dalton Castle and the Boys versus the Iron Savages on Honor Club December 14, which I know seems like a weird pick, but it was pure joy the whole way through. It wasn't long into Remnant 2 that I realized this is going to be my second favorite game of the year. It's not. I mean, not really, in as much as the order of these lists isn't just arbitrary, but the game kind of has that veneer to it. It's not the kind of experience that's going to deliver any deeper truths about the self or the world. It's kind of just an awesome concept with pretty good gameplay that you can play with friends. And I did. And it was a really great time. It's expansive and creative, engaging wherever you go, with just enough jank to keep things interesting. Oh no! Oh no! The tentacle's not coming with us! It's hard to pitch this game without just leaving it at it's a Soulsborne shooter that wants to send you to all kinds of fantasy and sci-fi environments. The depth of the game is kind of staggering. Around every corner, under every object, sometimes even just showing up in the right place at the right time, there is something to find and make part of the adventure. There's a story in there, I'm sure, but I wasn't paying attention. I was having too much fun exploring its worlds, solving its puzzles, and putting up with my friends despite their best efforts. It's a fun time, I promise. Remnant 2 is basically my entry for best game that is just a really good time of 2023. There's no deeper reason for it. I really just had so much fun with it, and there's a big part of me that wants to scrounge up some people to play with so I can go through it again. It's like the kind of game you could see yourself having a beer with. I would end up voting for it in a general election. I don't know. I think what I'm saying is the game speaks for itself just fine on its own and really sings when experienced with others. I'm really happy that it found its way to me this year. You hear that? Don't worry, it's just the sound of me losing my mind to John Wick Chapter 4 all over again. I'm not shy about how much this movie is my favorite of the year, it's just how the math works out. I am an absolute sucker for relentless action epics, choreographed gun ballets, and the like, and so needless to say, John Wick Chapter 4 not only hit all the right notes and pushed all the right buttons, but it did so many more times over than I could have ever expected that this thing is almost too much for me to believe. It's a 3-hour movie that had me completely wrapped in its spell the entire time. Not a moment of this, to be honest, very scattered and unfocused movie felt like a low moment or like something that could have been cut. Ever since its humble beginnings, John Wick has been a fixture for me in my appreciation of movies, and I find following the journey it provides to this incredible conclusion so rewarding, especially now, retroactively. It's not every day that a franchise can not only capitalize on everything that came before it, and then justify the steps it took to get there. I liked them just fine before, but I like the second and third John Wick more now that I have seen this movie, which is a twist I didn't see coming. And I know that this franchise will continue in some form or another before long, but the story that is completed with this entry in the series feels appropriate, and like exactly what it needed to be. The sheer accomplishment of the action, the utter scope and scale of what is being presented both on the screen and in the story is delightfully overwhelming to me. I feel like I need to spend some time studying the beats of this thing to see if I can figure out how it became so uniquely engaging to me, and I definitely need to figure out how it is that the scene that has stuck with me the longest and the clearest is a careful and quiet piano string tense hand of poker. It's kind of distressing how high the action movie bar has been set for me after this. I love this movie a lot, but it's a bit of an easy answer for my favorite of the year. Choosing the crowning achievement of my preferred genre of movie as a list topper, yeah, it's a little predictable. So if I had to pick one that spoke to me as more of a pleasant surprise, well, Blackberry is one such movie. I'm not really into the idea of corporations need inspirational biopics too, taking that corporate personhood a bit too seriously if you ask me. But Blackberry stood out on the landscape and proved to be too interesting to pass up. Starring Jay Baruchel, the high archon of Canadian cinema himself, Glenn Howerton finally reaching his final form, and Nirvana, the band The Show's Matt Johnson as writer, director, and co-lead steering the whole dang ship. I mean, tell me that doesn't sound at least a little interesting. And for the record, I'm always suspicious of biopics when it comes to accuracy, and based on what I'm reading, that's the correct reaction to have with this one. But none of that takes away from how thrilling this little world-changing adventure ends up being. The movie itself is the star of the show, and I like the ideas it puts forward, the images it offers, and I love nothing more than a film that can explore the questions that drive us, that get at the building blocks of what it means to exist as a sensible, conscious being in the world today.
Why would anybody want a phone without a keyboard?
Oh yeah, that's the stuff. God, I miss my Blackberry. And that right there is why this story is worth remembering to me, recreated and reconstructed as it may be. The once icon of the smartphone, one of the ships that brought us to where we are in this day and age, how we access information with these devices is long gone. How many people out there now how many people will in the future also use smartphones never having heard the name BlackBerry? No concept of where so much of all of this began. I'm not really a fan of biopics in general, and yeah, I said it that way 3 times because that's how I pronounce it. And I'll be honest, Blackberry ends up falling into some of the habits that kind of turn me off. But I find it to be a strangely compelling movie overall. It's like a thriller wrapped in a comedy, a mythological tale spun around a buddy picture. There's a chaotic spirit to this fun, angry little movie that I appreciate, and it's stuck in my memory over and above the competition. And it feels a bit underwatched, at least based on just me asking around, so give it a look. You might be surprised. I'm a big fan of huge, energetic, progressive heavy metal, and 2023 was a banner year for that kind of stuff. Haken, Tesseract, Redemption, DGM all had albums out this year, just to name a few. It was a huge music year for me, and choosing an overall favorite was really difficult. Of everything I did manage to hear, though, the biggest surprise was definitely the daring and distinctive debut of No Spoon, with the release of their first ever album, Opus. I have no idea how I should go about properly explaining this to the uninitiated. It's basically a display of carefully wrangled chaos, changing tones and moods as quickly as it shifts genre. Every instrument is treated like a piece of complex machinery. The lyrics are a strange and wondrous narrative with a murder mystery blended into time loops and weird dimensionality. And the vocals are more or less a full-on opera all to themselves, with the kind of distinctive tone that's almost too much for words. All of it is so highly energetic, exploring the full emotional range and never being afraid of pushing just a little further into whatever new direction we've found ourselves traveling in. It's pretty much the scientific opposite of Bell Witch, so a nice counterbalance for this video. You don't take this kind of approach to your sound without utter and complete confidence. It's so shocking up front that it was hard for me to process just what all I was hearing, but it all blends together to create its own kind of monster, and I find it admirable to say the least. Again, calling this my album of the year is probably a hasty designation, and who knows if it will stand the test of time for me, but the shocking energy it carries start to finish keeps me coming back to it over and over again. It's the heavy metal equivalent of dancing like nobody's watching, and I find that attitude so refreshing. This thing was playing on a loop in my headphones at work for a good month and a bit there, and it's still an easy go-to when I feel like I need my imagination to just take flight. I genuinely have no idea if this is anybody else's kind of thing, but suffice it to say, I am a fan, and I can't wait to see what No Spoon conjures up next. I would describe Dave the Diver as a full-on Dark Horse favorite, a game that existed for a time in the whispers of podcasts and periodically grazing the front page of Steam. I figured it was a game that would pass me by without too much occasion. How wrong I was. Tacking on this weird early access game as a harmless little impulse buy turned into, and I have done no actual comparisons to back this up, the most playtime I have put into anything this year. Dave the Diver is one of the easiest ways to make a few hours disappear for me these days. Part exploration game, part fishing game, part restaurant manager. It's so weird how all of it comes together to create one of the most relaxing and engaging games I've played in so long. And some of you at this point might be wondering about a certain other video I released last year about deep water and how I relate to it through games, and yeah, I'm as surprised as you. Never let it be said that exceptions don't make things interesting, I guess, because Dave the Diver is a game that has me clamoring to go deep sea diving again and again and again and again and again and again and again. It became a comfort space game for me this year, and yes, I'm struggling to reconcile the cognitive dissonance this is creating in my subconscious. Might explain some of the dreams I've been having lately, I don't know. Dave the Diver is one of the most fascinating little games I've come across in some time, a lot of that fascination coming from how not little it really is. From the moment I was catching my first fish in the blue hole, all the way up to running away from zombified mermaids and doing battle with a Mega Man boss, gosh, this game is such a ride. I had to know what could possibly be coming next, and the answer was just about anything. Even beyond the cycle of activities that make up the core of this game, somehow just when you think you have a grip on everything it has up its sleeve, there is always some other curveball headed your way. If it's not adding to the way the game works on a base level, then it's some wild change-up to the specific moment you are in. A little nod or wink of acknowledgement to the classics of the past. A little love letter to games, the pastime we all love. Dave the Diver was such a surprise, and based on how I played the game and engaged with it, it should probably have the top spot this year, were it not for another complete surprise that I couldn't have prepared myself for if you sat me down and distributed comprehensive literature on what was coming, and we will get to it in a second, but first, a brief in memoriam for all of the 2023 games I haven't been able to play yet. That probably definitely would have been put on this list if I had. Oh yeah, Baldur's Gate, that's a big one. Lies of P, I mean, come on, like, I did an especially bad job getting around to stuff this year, and like this apology feels weird because it's like, am I apologizing to you or me? Maybe I shouldn't have spent so much time playing games I've already played before. But even in the face of the sheer scope of everything that I've missed so far, Homebody would still likely be ringing in my mind pretty noticeably. Of all of the games I did play this year, Homebody is the thing that, to go with an overused turn of phrase, lives rent-free in my head. Equal parts classic survival horror and modern puzzle game, it's an experience that not only reflects my favorite classics back at me, but also makes me think it's far past time I check out the Clock Tower games. But here in the now, Homebody is a game that concerns itself with ideas of place, location, and how the people within it understand it while trying to decipher what it means, why it's important, and how it might hurt you. It's essentially exactly the kind of thing that gets me all up in a tizzy. It's something of a pet topic. This was the year I finally went back to these kinds of ideas in Firmament, and how cool is it that in the year that I finally decided to add to the puzzle game series, I would end up being provided with 2 games that speak to me on that level. So expect my Homebody versus Myst video essay sometime in, I don't know, 2027? That's not a real year. Short of calling Homebody my definitive item of the year, because I liked a lot of stuff this year on more or less the same level, I find the game striking and powerful in all of the ways that I'm so glad it is. This is a game that is thinking very hard about things like mental illness, isolation, and depression, and goes to so many places I kinda wasn't sure games could go to. Like, obviously they can, but it hadn't occurred to me that anyone should try. The tightropes this game walks, the believability of its characters, the straight face emblazoned onto its absolutely the Bobcat, bonkers situation it is built around, this game gives me the shivers. Like, I'm a little freaked out about how much this game manages to make me think about the thing we are instinctively supposed to be scared of as a comforting and welcome reprieve in the face of what this game is actually doing. You don't just get to pull that off. That's top tier work right there. I'm pretty much scared to try to talk about this game any further, but the degree to which I want to so badly is most of why this game is topping the list for me this year. I don't fully know what this game had to tell me, but it's certainly staying with me, and with enough time, maybe I can figure it out. I'm fully aware that this year was deep enough water for a game like Homebody to sink in, but I'm glad I set aside the time that I did for it. It's an experience I won't soon forget, and a maze that I can't wait to wander back into one day. Thank you all for watching this video, and if this isn't the first video of mine you've watched, then thank you for continuing to watch my videos. It means the world to me that I get any views at all. I'm already hard at work on the next video for the channel, and I'm really excited to be able to share what I'm putting together. Don't forget to take a look at the Patreon, where you can find the free expansion pack companion video to this one, launching on the same day. It's up there now. And if you're just interested in seeing what goes up here in the future, then make sure to like and subscribe and maybe ring the bell. And if you feel the overwhelming need to chastise me for not getting to Baldur's Gate 3 in time for this video, then I guess I'll see you in the comments. Take care, and have a happy new year, everybody.